Was that like
like we talked about
don't worry about it.
And it was kind of
so that's very active tonight. Ready? Okay, let's resume. So we're on to Bruce's question now. Jack. So Master Shantideva says to them, he says, look, he says, yes, you could go into a meditation. There's a lot of Tibetan. Just gonna cut to the chase. He says, this notion you have of being able to repress your mental afflictions. He says it's like going into a meditation. There's a name for the meditation. It's what's it called? It's a deep state of meditation called an equilibrium meditation. And basically what happens when you're in this meditation is that your mind is almost shut down. It's very, very, very still, and it's almost shut down. It's the idea is, the discriminating is, this is blue, this is red, this is me, this is you, I like this, I don't like that. That's discriminating. So you're in this state of meditation. It's a state of meditation where there's no discrimination. They say the mind is always active. So Master Shantideva says, look, it's like saying you're in this state of equilibrium meditation with no discrimination, and you can stay in this meditation for a hell of a long time. But what happens when you come out of the meditation? You're right back where you started. And this is a very famous thing in Buddhism where you do these long, still, subtle, profound meditations, and when you come out, everything reasserts itself with a force, with a fury. You get out of this beautiful, sublime meditation after 10 years, and all of a sudden you're pissed off at the world, whatever it is, because all the mental afflictions are still there, and they're asserting themselves again. They haven't been dealt with. They haven't been cleaned. And you can say, well, what if you did this meditation till you died? Well, you have in your next life. The seeds are not cleaned. It's not addressed. You just managed to put your mind in a state where it's not afflicted for a while. Not much different than if somebody close to you died and you suppressed your afflictions for a while. So Master Shantideva says, come on, you have to put an end to your mental afflictions permanently, and the only way to do that is through seeing emptiness. This temporary repression thing of mental afflictions doesn't work. So it's like that. So what's the connection between seeing emptiness and getting rid of mental afflictions, right? I mean, Master Shantideva has been arguing that you have to see emptiness to get rid of your mental afflictions, right? I mean, forget about enlightenment. Let's just talk about our mental afflictions, right? I mean, let's forget about the later, future, higher goals. I mean, we say, see emptiness, end your mental afflictions, get enlightened. Yay! Right? How about, I just don't want to be insecure anymore. I just don't want to worry anymore. I just don't want to be anxious anymore. I'm sick of being insecure, and I'm sick of being anxious, and I'm sick of having problems. And I just I just want to stop that crap. Let's just leave it at that, okay? Be quite content. And I'm proposing that, but I'm just saying. I mean, wouldn't it be nice just to deal with it on that level, let alone anything else after that? So, Maitreya addresses how that works and why that works. How seeing emptiness puts an end to our mental afflictions, and how it is that seeing emptiness enables us to put an end to our mental afflictions. So this is from Lord Maitreya, and depending on whether you're on the open teaching track or secret teaching track, he's either a very high Bodhisattva or a Buddha, depending upon the scripture that you're in. Either way, a good source, good authoritative source. And he explains these things in his text, the Uttara Tantra. It's not a Tantra, it's an open teaching, it just happens to be called Uttara Tantra. Okay? There are 5 books of Maitreya, and the commentary especially clarifies the steps. So there are 6 steps why, if you see emptiness directly, you can get rid of your mental afflictions. It explains how that process works. And so this is some of the most important and holy information presented in Buddhism, because it is the direct core explanation of how to end all your afflictions. You know, it's the essence of how to end your afflictions and how it works at a fundamental, essential level. Right? Okay, so there's Tibetan. I'm not going to do the Tibetan for the sake of time. The first step is Daksin Yiki Bachak Yu, which states that you're born with a habit of seeing yourself as self-existent. The first step, there are 6 steps here, okay? And these 6 steps explain how and why we collect negative karma, and why seeing emptiness stops that. Okay, so this is an explanation of where all suffering comes from. These 6 steps explain where all suffering comes from. You know, we go through these 6 steps, and it creates all the suffering in our lives and in the world. And perceiving emptiness then breaks this and stops this. And so we'll get to that in the end. So the first element, or the first step in this chain of progression is that as a being with a mind, we are born with the habit of seeing ourselves, me and mine, as self-existent. Right? We talked about me and mine. What does me and mine refer to? Remember?
Belief in real self. Belief in real self.
Well, when Buddhism talks about me and mine, what is it talking about?
Is it deceptive reality?
What's me? Who am I? Me is me.
Oh, subject matter stuff.
Yeah, my parts. So when Buddhism talks about me and mine is the source of our problems. We think of me and mine as self-existent. I'm John, I'm here, I exist, really, as John, in a certain way, and I am definitive and concrete. This is me, right? And then mine, my bits, my arms, my legs, my hat, I mean, to a lesser degree, my stuff. So, me and my parts. You know, my mind conceives of me in a certain way, and my mind thinks of my parts in a certain way. My hand is very important to me, obviously. My hair is very important to me. You know, whatever it's going to be, right? To a lesser degree, my shoes, perhaps, right? Me and mine, all right? Depends on who you talk to, I suppose, on the shoes. Okay. So, we're born with this view. And we've had this tendency for our eternal infinite past. We've had this bakchak, these seeds, to see ourselves as a self-existent being forever, basically. And so we're born again with them in this life. And these seeds have been in this mind from our first moment of conception and our first breath. Okay? So that is the first element. Right? You know, the notion that this is a lid from its own side is what it means to be self-existent. Is this a lid? Is this a lid? From its own side. So it's a lid in dependence upon thinking of it as a lid, and creating it for myself as a lid, conceiving of it as a lid for myself. Right? Plenty of beings would not conceive of this as a lid. So it exists for me as a lid because I conceive of it and experience it that way. Same is true of me. I exist for myself because I conceive of myself a certain way, think of myself a certain way, relate to myself a certain way. Same is true of my hair. Or lack thereof, right? Okay.
And bakchak is a seed.
Bakchak means seed. Yeah, bakchak is a seed. Okay. So, a potential. You know, it's a potential in the mind to see it a certain way, to see it that way. So we have this bakchak for self-existence. So there's a potential, a seed or a potential in the mind to see me as self-existent and to see my parts as self-existent. Right. So we have those seeds from past lives, from the moment of conception. Right. So that's the first step in the problem. Okay. Number 2 Daxin Nikkei. So that seed begins to flower, and the tendency to see myself as being self-existent grows stronger and stronger. The tendency to see myself self-existently becomes greater. It's like when somebody pisses you off, you know, like, and especially like if you didn't deserve it. Somebody treats you badly and you didn't deserve it, right? How could they do that to me? You know, I'm this kind of person and that kind of person. I'm fair and I'm truthful and I'm, you know, it's all self-existence, right? I mean, the mind asserts itself strongly at times. Easier to see in certain times than others, right? So the seeds we're born with grow, right? And we spend our whole life seeing things as self-existent. We don't walk around going, let me have a cup of tea that I'm conceptualizing as liquid and solid and round and a hand and a handle, and let me conceptualize it moving towards the thing I'm calling my mouth, and now let me experience it going in what I'm calling inside, what I'm calling my body, and to what I'm thinking of as my stomach, though I've never really seen it. They tell me it's there, you know. You know, and right? Then we go through it because the mind is so fast, right? It's just a flash. The mind just flashes through it. Cup, tea, mouth, drink, stomach, good, right? I mean, the mind is flashing so fast through all these things. We're not slowing it down to catch this lack of self-existence, and so we're relating to it all just, you know, these flashes of self-existence all day long, right? And so we relate to everything that way all the time because the mind is just flashing so fast through everything that it just has time to slap a quick label on it, right? It's just cookie. I'm on, you know, it's like I only got a millisecond to call it a cookie and I'm on to the next thing. I don't have time to think about anything except cookie. All I got was time for a millisecond label and I'm on to the next label and that's a millisecond and then the next label's a millisecond and the next label's a millisecond and that's my life. It's all, you know, milliseconds of self-existent labels, you know? So New York sucks. This rushing around in New York, fast-thinking life sucks. If only we lived in the forest and we could just think slowly, right? I don't know, what, something. Something. Move to Seattle, I don't know. Okay.
Just squirrels.
But the thing is dogs have this tendency. It's the same for dogs, it's the same for squirrels, it's the same for bugs. It's the same for all these beings. You know, the nature, according to Buddhism, the nature of the perception, the nature of the mind is the same. You know, it's not like the fly is going, ooh, I'm perceiving this as a delicious pile of feces. You know, they just go, dinner! You know, all right. Like, sorry. We're three. All right. So because this tendency to see things as self-existent is growing, then we start to see things as attractive and unattractive, self-existently. Like, she's gorgeous from her side. He's hot from his side. Those shoes are smoking from their side, you know, or purse or whatever it is, right? I don't know. So,
He's smoking from his side, and that purse he's wearing is fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Nice shoes.
Nice shoes, yeah.
Sorry, I connected them all together.
You connected all, yeah.
I'm about to suffer.
You're about to suffer. That's right, big time. So what happens then is that because we're seeing ourself as self-existent more and more, we start to relate to the things outside of us as self-existent more and more, right? So I like G. I don't like Paul. I really don't like Bruce. You know?
We all know that, John.
So because he from his own side, you know, whatever. She from her own side, whatever, right? So you can see the progression. The self-existent ignorance, the seed for ignorance is there. It begins to assert itself. We see ourself as self-existent. We begin to, third step, we begin to be attracted to outer things ignorantly, self-existently. I like G because she possesses this from her own side, and I don't like Bruce because he possesses that from his own side. So the self-existent, the ignorance and the self-existence is flowering and growing and spreading to more and more things, right? Okay? So that's the third. The tendency grows to be attracted to things in the wrong way, as if they as if those qualities came from them, from their own side, right? Okay. Okay. I mean, is there any problem to say, I'm attracted to certain things and I find other things repulsive? No, obviously not. I don't like class running over and staying late and missing my train on the way home. No problem. You know, it's not happening from its own side. You know, sadly. So it's about the ignorance. You know, would I behave badly, as we said in the past, because I don't like that thing? Would I, you know, yell at that thing I don't like to get it away from me? You know, would I steal that thing I like to get it closer to me? So therein lies the ignorance and the negativity, right? Okay, so the fourth step is liking and disliking things ignorantly grows stronger and stronger, right? And then what do you think the fifth step is? Lesak, you collect karma. Okay, you start with the seed for ignorance, which you've had for infinite time, the bakchak, the potential to see things as self-existent, right? Born, the first step is you're just born with a bakchak, right? Again, to see me and mine as self-existent. Then the second step is it begins to flower, and I begin to see things, me and my parts, as self-existent more and more. You know, like when someone unjustly accuses you, for example, right? And then thirdly, because I'm seeing myself and my parts self-existently, I'm also seeing the things outside of me self-existently. And so I begin to be attracted to things I like and repulsed from things I don't like in an ignorant way, right? And then it grows stronger is the fourth step. Right? So you can see it's like this thing sprouts, it begins to, it's like first it contaminates me. And after it's contaminated me, then I can project that contamination onto the things outside of me, right? And once I've contaminated myself, and once I've projected my contamination onto whatever's outside of me, then I can behave badly all around, right? So, and I can collect karma, right? So that's the progression, all right? That's the fifth step. Sixth step is Kordwar Kor. You circle in suffering life. You perpetuate your suffering.
Check 5 was you generate karma.
Yeah, you collect karma. You do a bad deed. Why? Based on ignorant liking and disliking. Based upon ignorantly understanding how things exist. I think the hot partner's hotness is coming from them. And I think if I can just get a hold of it, I'll be happy and it won't matter that I'm cheating on my partner or whatever. You know? That's ignorance. It's not coming from them. Their hotness is not coming from them. Their hotness is coming from you. You know? It's coming from your mind. And, you know, collecting negativity in your mind by, you know, mistreating someone else is just going to cause your mind to perceive suffering in the future in a different way, at a different time. It's ignorance. Based upon thinking the hotness self-existently resides in those buns over there, you know, and it's not true. So that's it. So if you go through all 5 steps, we have the bakchak, we're born with it, right? I start to see myself as self-existent, me and my body and my mind. I start to think I'm self-existent. I'm like this. I'm over here like this. I'm really here. I'm this kind of guy, or this kind of lady, right? Then I start to perceive the things outside me that way. I'm ignorantly attracted to or repulsed towards things outside me. They're more and more self-existent. Like, that guy really is a jerk, and if I could just punch him, he'd leave me alone, you know? Or whatever, right? You know, that person really is, you know, a gossip, and if I just told her off, you know, everything would be better, right? She's a gossip from her own side. He's a jerk from his own side. It's all about them. It's all coming from them, right? So that becomes stronger and stronger. As a result, I act. You know, I tell them off, I punch them, I do whatever I do, I steal, I lie, I cheat, and then I collect karma and I perpetuate my suffering. Right? So those are the 6 steps whereby all the suffering in the world is created. Right? That's the core of how we suffer, right? mean, I think that's the essence of it. Why do the lousy things in our world exist? Look at this progression backwards. I have a boss that's yelling at me, or a peer, or a partner, or whomever. A crazy guy on the subway. Why? Go back through the steps backwards. I yelled at someone because I thought they were a self-existent jerk who was treating a self-existent me badly. And I, through my ignorance, collected the karma for that to happen, right? So we need to look at it forwards, and we need to look at it backwards to examine where things are coming from and why. Why do the unpleasant things occur in our life, right? So Master Shantideva said, kiss the ugly things in your life goodbye. Why? Because as you understand this and as you behave in a more virtuous fashion, you have problems in your life less and less. As you yell at people less, you have less people yelling at you in your life, right? So he said in our last class, kiss that nasty boss goodbye, because as you clean yourself up, you won't have a nasty boss in your life. And the same is true of all the other problems we have in our life, right? So, the more we clean ourselves up, the fewer problems we have in our life. And then by monitoring our own behavior, things improve. Not immediately. Was Rome built in a day? No. But by cleaning ourselves up, first, instead of meeting a bad person every 5 minutes, maybe we meet a nasty person every 10 minutes. Or maybe we meet a nasty person every 15 minutes. Then we meet a nasty person once a day. And then we meet a nasty person once a week. So it's like that. It's a progression. And eventually New York becomes full of these sweet, charming people. Or you move to a place which is full of sweet, charming people. It's not New York, right? Not that it's self-existent, right? But that's the whole idea, right? It's a gradual process. And then eventually you start to have these sublime, beautiful, holy experiences. Maybe, once a month you start to see something very holy, and then you start to see holy beings like once every 2 weeks, and then once every week, and then once every day, and then once every hour, and and eventually you're seeing them all the time, and then eventually you're in your own paradise, right? So it's this progressive thing that as we clean up our minds and we clean up our hearts and we clean up our energy and our karmas, then our reality changes and our reality shifts, right? So this direct perception of emptiness is infinitely more powerful and deeper to break this cycle than just an intellectual understanding. How is it that we can counteract this seed that we've been born with every life for infinite time? We have these seeds to see ourselves ignorantly and to see things around us ignorantly, to perceive it all as self-existent. We need something incredibly powerful that's going to break that, and that's what the experience of ultimate reality is. And I think it's related to the fact that you see your future lives, you see your enlightenment, you meet the Dharmakaya of a Buddha. All of these different things come into play to make it a very powerful experience, such that it can serve as an antidote to the ignorance and the self-existent view, right? So, okay. In Buddhism, the real emphasis is on understanding what's going on, which is very powerful. Once we understand what's going on, then we can apply the antidotes and we can do something about it. So, the first Dalai Lama, he wrote a commentary to the Abhidharma Kosha, and he went through a long list of stuff that you can do that doesn't work. And he said there's all these spiritual things that don't work. You can have someone bonk you on the head with an initiation vase. You can have somebody wash your feet. You can have somebody, try ESP, bless you by putting your hands on your head, do darshan. He said, none of it works. He said, the only way to get out of suffering is to understand these 6 points, to understand where suffering is coming from. And, any moderately intelligent American can hear these 6 points and can apply them to get themselves out of suffering. So, it starts with understanding, but if it's just that, then it's not enough. We have to actually live it and implement it. Hearing these things and understanding these things isn't enough. It's like We can hear a lot of Dharma classes, but how much of it do we really internalize and to put into action? I mean, this is really important. This is critical stuff to internalize and to put into action, right? So, if you see emptiness directly, then you bash number 2. You destroy number 2 here out of the 6. By seeing emptiness directly, then you smash the tendency to see you in yourself as self-existent, which then cuts off the rest. If I'm not really here in the way that I think I am, then I'm not doing the rest. See? So that's where it cuts, right? So last thing that's on the homework, just briefly, Master Shantideva has a student come up to him and he says, you know, Master Shantideva, I've been meditating and I'm trying to meditate on emptiness, and it gets kind of weird at times, and it gets kind of creepy at times, and I'm starting to freak myself out, like, you know, I'm not really who I thought I was, and things aren't really what they seem to be, and there's this other reality, and it's kind of scary, you know, like thinking this isn't the reality, this isn't the primary reality, this isn't the only reality, there's this other reality, and it's not like this. So you're freaking me out, man. So Master, and he says it's scary, you know. And so Master Shantideva's basic reply to him is that he said, you know, is that, well, it's a bad verse, I'm not going to do it, but all the suffering in your life comes from your habit of seeing things as self-existent, and realizing emptiness will stop all the suffering in your life. The only way to stop the suffering in your life is to see emptiness. So all the things which are really scary in your life, the fact that you're going to get some horrible illness, the fact that you're going to die or get smashed by a car or whatever the case might be, he said, that's really scary. He said, you know, emptiness is the solution. Emptiness is the answer. Emptiness is not the scary thing. You know, ultimate reality is not the scary thing. He said, you know, all of the other things in your life are the scary things. Those are the things that you should be concerned about. So, he says, you know, if you want to stop all the things in your life which are really scary, meaning your suffering, aging, and death, then you have to meditate on emptiness. If you don't meditate on emptiness, then you will not put an end to your suffering, illness, aging, and death. And you know, all of the promises we make and all the affirmations that we make, I'm never going to do that again. It's impossible. I mean, it's impossible. You know, we say, I won't behave that way again. It's impossible. It's against our nature, unless we see emptiness directly. You know? So it is the only way to permanently end the mental afflictions. So it's the only way to fix things. You know, we go around, we live our lives saying, I'm not going to be that kind of person. I'm not going to act like that again. I'm not going to behave that way again. You spend 10 years not trying. I mean, I've done it. I've tested. You spend 10, 20, 30 years trying not to behave that way. You can't get rid of it. Because it's implicit in our condition. You know? Until you see emptiness, you cannot get rid of your mental afflictions permanently. Period. You can only occasionally suppress them through various means. So stop thinking that it's possible to end afflictions and suffering and mental problems unless you see emptiness. It's not possible. The best you can do is suppress it for a while. So, you see emptiness.
Swashi Puki Jishin Metotron Realing Shi Empadi Sangha Shindu Mite Guragi Drakun Namda Shinla Chupasho Hiram Guru Ratna Mandalakam Ninyatayami Gawadi Gawakun Sunam Yashe Tsoktsokshim Sunam Yashe Rajunwe Rampa Kunito Pasho.
See the holy being at your crown becoming smaller and brighter, glowing, golden orb of light. The size of a pea. See them merging into your heart, blessing your mind stream. By the power of this blessing, may we come to the direct communion experience of suchness, ending all suffering for ourselves and every living being quickly in this very life. By the power of these classes and our intention, may this quickly come to pass.
Thank you for teaching.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Simply have to caution you that